It's so happy to be here with Dr. Dharmesh Mehta, a close friend and colleague of mine. We are here to discuss Ketu Part 2, Houses 7 through 12. Such a blessing to be with you here, Dr. Dharmesh of DM Astrology. Namaste, sir.
Yeah. Thank you very much, Kṣaṇāti. And again, being pleasant to be with you in the Ketu series, Part 2. And there are a lot of people's expectation that we should immediately do and release. So now we are doing this, and furthermore also we are doing many series together.
Yeah.
So not to waste the viewers' time, let's start with the journey of Ketu in the Hello.
Hello, Dr. Dharmesh. The internet cut out on for your second. It's back now. I'll just trim that out. I'll trim that later.
Okay, no problem. So you start with the Ketu in the 7th house.
Okay, well, to start with Ketu in the 7th house, I'll first say that that's my natural position in the Ketu is in the 7th house. And this is a very strong position for the Ketu in the 7th house because the 7th house is the house of marriage. It's the house of partnership. It's the house of compatibility. And so when you have Ketu, which is the moksha karaka, positioned in the 7th house, it can be very positive spiritually, but it can be very difficult romantically. And it can be very difficult when it comes to marriage. Part of the energy of Ketu in the 7th house is Ketu's only concern is that we're in alignment with our highest spiritual frequency. So Ketu is in alignment, is this force which is helping us to be in our highest spiritual frequency or reach our highest potential, whatever that might be. But when it's positioned in the 7th house, it's very important that your partner is in alignment with your soul's potential. Because if your partner is not in alignment with your spiritual potential, if your partner is not helping you get closer to moksha, if your partner is too dependent or too needy or too demanding of your attention and your time, then the relationship is not compatible with the 7th house. And Ketu will rip the relationship apart, especially during its transit, its Mahadasha, and its Antardasha. So you can see very strongly activated Ketu in the 7th house. Now, let's say someone's not married or not in a relationship. Ketu in the 7th house being activated might activate a certain type of relationship. But when Ketu activates a relationship, because of its moksha influences, it might not always be there to stay. It might not always be there permanent. So although you might develop some attraction with someone, if you have Ketu in the 7th house, Ketu Dasha, Ketu Antardasha, that relationship might not be your soulmate. Even though because of Ketu, its signification with past lifetime connections, you might have a past lifetime connection with this person. But that doesn't mean that you're meant to be with them for your eternity in this lifetime. But one thing that I suggest for those natives with Ketu in the 7th house is because Rahu falls into the 1st house. And that means in your past lifetimes, you much preoccupy the partner. You preoccupy the partner, which means you always try to make the partner happy. What can I do for you, honey? What can I do for you, sweetie? You want to do this? Oh, well, I want to do this. But it doesn't matter what I want to do. Let's do what you want to do. So the Ketu in the 7th house in the past lifetimes is very subservient, is very serving towards the partner and wants to make the partner happy. But what that does is we can lose ourself. That's the Rahu in the 1st house. We can lose our identity. We can lose what's important to us. We can lose our hobbies. We can lose our interests. We can lose our passions when we're always so concerned about making someone else happy. So for those people with Ketu in the 7th house, they need a partner who is independent. They need a partner who is not a heavy distraction. They need a partner who is going to help push them spiritually towards moksha. And what they don't need is a partner who is going to be heavily distracting to them, who is going to change their personality, who is going to change their character. It's very not compatible with Ketu in the 7th house. Ketu in the 7th house is not necessarily a bad thing, where you have to worry that you cannot get married, because many people with Ketu in the 7th house, they do get married, but sometimes they get multiple marriages. Sometimes they get married second and third times until they find the person that they will spend the rest of their life with. And the deeper lesson of Ketu is a lesson of non-attachment. So 7th house is where we experience some love. So in a love, when we feel some love for our partner, when we feel some love for our hubby, we get very attached to them. We want to spend all our time with them. We want to be them around them all the time. But Ketu in that 7th house creates separation. It's saying sometimes you need to be away from your partner. You can't depend on your partner. You can't be attached on your partner. You have to find peace within yourself. You have to find contentedness within yourself. And so again, Ketu in the 7th house is not the hardest thing for marriage, but it is very challenging in terms of finding the right person who's going to be compatible for the person with Ketu in the 7th house, who's not going to affect the Rahu ascendant native in a negative way. And also Ketu being the signification house for Libra, sometimes when Ketu is in the 7th house, these people can be extreme in their dealings with love, which means they also can fall in love rather quickly, and they can fall out of love rather quickly. So they can meet someone and they can fall in love in a very short period of time, and they can be with someone for a very long period of time. But then because Ketu, their frequencies begin to go in different directions, they can fall out of love. So there's falling in love quickly, and there's also falling out of love quickly. Also, Ketu in the 7th house has said to bring some troubles when it comes to fidelity. Not necessarily the native with Ketu in the 7th house not being loyal to their partner. Sometimes it's the other way around, but there can be issues of jealousy, worry of the partner finding intimacy with someone else. So this is also something that comes up with Ketu in the 7th house, because when we have attachment to our partner, the last thing that we want to do is have in our mind that they would be interested in someone else, so that they would be into someone else. So there can be a lot of fear with Ketu in the 7th house, as far as my partner is going to cheat on me, my partner is going to leave me, my partner is going to lose interest in me. So Ketu in the 7th house can be a very difficult position, but it's very, very positive when you have a spiritual partner who knows what moksha is, who knows what reincarnation is, and who wants to help support you spiritually and wants to help support you along your path of moksha. And so the best type of partner for someone with Ketu in the 7th house is someone who is mystical, someone who is spiritual, someone who is interested in the occult, esoteric things like a Jyotish, Vastu, and Ayurveda. This is very compatible for the native with Ketu in the 7th house. So that's just a little insight I wanted to share about Ketu in the 7th house. I hope it was interesting for everyone out there. And I very much look forward to hearing everything Dr. Dharmesh would have to share as well. So up to you now, Doctor.
Yeah, very briefly and very elaborately mention about the Ketu in the 7th house. And I just add some dimension of a Ketu. As in my so many videos, I say that the Rahu is reflective and Ketu is a receptive. So those having a Ketu in the 7th house, they are receptive energy. They are absorbing the energy of that house. So what happens that you are absorbing the energy of your opposite partner. One should not forget that Ketu in the 7th house is a place where the Rahu comes in the ascendant, and major problem is in the Rahu. It is not in the Ketu. So you are rightly said that the Ketu doesn't make any problem in the 7th house. If the Rahu is in the 7th house, then the problem may be more. So Ketu in the 7th house means it's a kind of a dryness. You are not, see, we all see that the Ketu or Rahu, whichever house is there, they always overreact, and Ketu is underreact. So what happened? You throughout your lifetime, you always expect more from your partner, and you always feel that your partner is very dry. He or she is not so supportive, and it's not only limited to the partner or a commercial partner, as a partner, business partner, or life partner, but to whom you face. Come in front of you. The 7th house believes a house where the people to whom you face the world. So you always feel that people are not understanding me. I am something different, and what the people are seeing from their eyes is something different. So 7th house Ketu means your partner, your opposite person having something different idea about you, and you possess something different. Means it is a chances of a misinterpretation, we can say. So here the 7th house Ketu makes the house dry. Dry in sense that you have the things. It's a kind of a cloud. Cloud always hide the sunlight, but we cannot forget that sunlight is there. Likewise, the partner is good. Partner is good. What the problem is that the problem lies with this person, because his expectation is more. Being Rahu in the ascendant, his expectation is more, and he will feel that the opposite partner is dry and is not understanding me. You are making a misunderstanding about your partner. You are not knowing the potential of your partner, and sometimes this leads to extremity towards a divorce also, because to whom you are facing, every time you are going to meet the same person, because the problem lies within you, you are blaming the other person. So Ketu in 7th house means you are underestimating your opposite person, your partner, your spouse, and because of this, there is a destruction in the marriage life. Yeah, for spiritual, as we all know that Ketu is not mean for the materialism. Rahu is highly materialistic planet, whereas Ketu is totally opposite to it. When we say Rahu and Ketu always opposite to each other, they place 7 to each other. That means they are totally different. They are having a total different dimension. So due to the highly materialistic dimension of a Rahu in the ascendant, obviously you will always feel low about your partner, and that more demanding nature cause you problem. Not the Ketu in the 7th house is creating. He or she is performing well up to the standard. What you deserve, they are performing. But your expectation is beyond that things. And because of that high expectation, Rahu has been cut and making in the two part of Ketu and Rahu separated. So Ketu in 7th house not mean for materialistic. Obviously, he or she, who's your partner is there, is more focused on the dimension of a spiritual aspect. So he or she, your spouse, is always ready to sacrifice, ready to compromise, but you want something different from them, and your expectation burn out your relationship. I accept the Ketu in 7th house, but I don't like Rahu in 7th house, because here the game change and the Rahu comes in the 7th house means we are going to do the Rahu video next series wise. But in short, because this first house and 7th house is very directly affect to the person and person surrounding. So what happens that if the Ketu in 7th house, your expectation is less. So whoever come in front of you are having a more expectation. That also good. But problem lies being the opposite person. That is good. So especially is very good. They are meeting with the people who has a Ketu in 7th house. They are meeting with the person who will always give some kind of a knowledge related to the spirituality. He will always face the people having a high spirituality values or not materialistic dimension. we can say other way, is not having a materialistic dimension. So on that basis, I like the Ketu in the 7th house. Here what happened, you are going to meet with the same person, because Ketu and Rahu, we all know that is a generation to generation, you are meeting with the same person. You are exchanging the deeds with the same soul. Here again, you got a chance. Whenever the Rahu and Ketu comes in the 1st or 7th house, you got another chance to meet the same person you have in the earlier life. Now the role might have changed. See, we all know that wherever the Rahu plays, in whichever the house Rahu plays, that house you are going to exploit more in this life. And where the Ketu is placed, you have already you are exploited already in the past life. That is why this life you are getting a dryness. I like your remark that in past life you are so good to them. That is why they are more demanding. Means they are caring more, as you have already put so much care and protection your spouse. And this life it has just turned. Now your role turn, and now she will be supplying. So this is a demand and supply purely. But Ketu in the 7th house, obviously it's not a materialistic planet, so may cause something about the personal life, sexual life also. So it's somewhat plastic in regular life, not inclining any sense. See, we have a 5 sense. Rahu has all 5 sense in very zip format, because it's a Rahu is just a head, dragon hair. So it is zip all the 5 senses in very small measure, whereas Ketu has no sense. Because having a no sense, it cannot realize, it cannot feel the senses. So because of non-feeling of our senses, you are meetings with the so many people, but you are not feeling something which they lies. What they lies, they have a qualities you never come to know. And afterward, you will realize that you have make a mistake on choosing a person. So overall, this aspect says that something lies wrong inside the person, and that lacuna, they are blaming the other. They say that no, you are wrong, you are very dry, you are not up to my, you are not par with my expectation. So that's all about the 7th house. We only focus about the marital life, but those who are not married, those who are sannyasi, for them this Ketu in the 7th house very good, that those to whom they are facing, they always complete their deeds. They are completing the deeds. So the to whom you are facing will show you the way of moksha. Because 7th house is just our opposite house where we face, we focus. So you are going to meet a people who will always give you some or the other way to go to the way of a moksha. So this beautiful things the person are blessed with the Ketu in the 7th house. So we may move ahead to the next house.
Definitely. Thank you so much, Dr. Dharmesh. And I just remembered in my research, because of Ketu in the 7th house, that sometimes that can affect the health of the spouse negatively. For some reason, it can be a widow karaka. So that means that it's possible that when you get married to someone and you have Ketu in the 7th house, it create a karma which is more challenging for the health of your partner. And so it's that's something that's very important, is that caretaking energy starts to come up.
Yeah.
Because the partner starts to have challenging health conditions. And then the Rahu ascendant goes back to, okay, well, I have to take care of this person. But that's a samskara for many lifetimes. So again, it is something where their partner has health challenges and they may become a widow in their lifetime as well. Now, moving on for Ketu in the 8th house position, this is a very interesting position for Ketu, 8th house being the house of death, which is a moksha house, and then Ketu being this planet which has to do with death. So this is a very powerful spiritual position for Ketu. It is in a Dusthana position, but when a planet like Ketu is in a Dusthana position, it doesn't have quite as a malefic effect. Now, there are some challenging effects about Ketu in the 8th house, but there are also some great beneficial effects. Now, from a past lifetime perspective, these people with Ketu in the 8th house, they might be more renunciative. They might be more outside of society. They might not be, in the past lifetimes, that interested within regular things like making a job, having a family. These things might not have been more important to them. They might have been focused more on spiritual life, which is why Rahu is creating a karma in the 2nd house of Artha and wealth, in which they must obtain some financial stability in this lifetime, in which they must achieve some material stability in this lifetime. Because in the past lifetime, they didn't necessarily honor that. And that's part of Dhammartha Kama Moksha, is to experience the 4 aims of life. I always say to my clients, moksha is really great, but you can't skip to it. You can't skip dharma to get to moksha, you can't skip artha to get to moksha, and you can't skip kama to get to moksha. So those that people born with Ketu in the 8th house, they must know that they cannot skip artha to get to moksha. And even though that they have much interest in the mystical and the occult esoteric, and usually people with Ketu in the 8th house have past lifetime wisdom of occult sciences. So in their past lifetime, maybe they were astrologer, maybe they were Ayurvedic doctor, maybe they were Vastu practitioner, maybe they were great yogi. There are all these possibilities for them to have this powerful mystical or occult knowledge. But as Dr. Dharmesh mentioned, that is where they experienced a lot of their past lifetime wisdom already. They haven't experienced wealth. They haven't experienced what it is to make money. They haven't experienced what it is to stand on your own 2 feet and not depend on anyone, and not depend on an ashram, but depend on your own hard work to make to be able to establish yourself and feel stable and secure in this world. But also, people with moksha, Ketu in the 8th house, sometimes they can have a very strong imagination, and they can get very distracted. And sometimes the 8th house is also called the house of sex, drugs, and rock and roll. So when you have Ketu in the 8th house, sometimes these people have to be very careful about alcoholism and addiction. Now, this means that recreational substances like alcohol, tobacco, and things are particularly negative for them. Because Ketu in the 8th house, it's different if they're working with more plants that affect the celestial part of the consciousness. But purely recreational substances, because it's a shamanic position, Ketu in the 8th house. These people can have interest in shamanism, which means they can have interest in working with plant medicines and plant teachers and things like that. But they have to be very careful of addiction. They have to be very careful of drug. They have to be very careful of alcohol, and to stay away from these man-made things, which they can have more temptation to. Also, because the 8th house is the house of sex, something that they must be very careful about is sex without love, sex without romance, sex without relationship. It's very important that there is a vulnerability with Ketu in the 8th house. Now, of course, there's the other side of it, which is brahmacharya, which is sannyasi, which is a beautiful route to take with Ketu in the 8th house. But the darker side of Ketu in the 8th house is having sex without romance, having sex without love, having intimacy under the influence of drugs and alcohol. So this is something that must be considered as a remedial thing, as something that you would want to avoid, as having Ketu in the 8th house. Also, some interesting things about Ketu in the 8th house is Ketu is in the house of secrets. And when Ketu is in the house of secrets, sometimes these people have secrets. Now, not always are these secrets things that are, how do I want to put this, that are positive. A lot of times, because Ketu can be a very destructive planet, these people have traumatic secrets. People with Ketu in the 8th house are very common to have what is conditioned as the psychological condition of PTSD, or post-traumatic stress disorder. This means at some point in their life, there was some type of event that happened to them, which is very, very, very difficult. Ketu in the 8th house, possibly it could be anything from abuse from the parents, sexual abuse, any type of traumatic event. Because of the death karaka, because the loss of someone very close to them at a very early age or at a very difficult age. And this karaka of Ketu in the 8th house is very difficult in this sense, because it's forging new relationships, and it's very transformational, because Ketu is exalted in the Scorpio sign, and the 8th house is the natural house of the Scorpio. So as much mystical potential energy is in there, there's also temptation towards addiction, towards sex without love. And so there is a higher side of the vibration of Ketu in the 8th house and the lower side of the vibration of Ketu in the 8th house. But because of this traumatic condition, which sometimes comes with Ketu in the 8th house, it's important that these people have good, if they go through certain traumatic events, that they have good counseling. If they have a lot of grief, that they have good grief counseling. So Ketu in the 8th house is a really strong position for having to go through lots of transformational life events that kind of change the way that you perceive life. And because 8th house is mystical, you can perceive life in more mystical way. You can perceive life in more spiritual way. But it's not always an easy road to get there with Ketu in the 8th house. Sometimes there are challenging or traumatic events that we must heal from, we must recover from, to really go through the spiritual transformation and get closer to moksha with Ketu in the 8th house. Also, the 8th house is the house of expenses. So when Ketu is strong in the 8th house, these people have difficulty with expenses and are very worried about money because Rahu is in the 2nd house. Because that means so they have high expenses and they are worrying, how am I going to make money? How am I going to survive? But this is good. This is positive because it motivates them. What job do I need to have to make money? How can I start to develop savings account? Because the renunciate, brahmacharya, not part of society, that's the past lifetime karma. But this lifetime karma for the Ketu in the 8th house is to be a part of the material world, is to establish yourself financially, because Rahu falls into the 2nd house. Now, it doesn't mean that you can't do that doing mystical, occult, esoteric. Sometimes people with Rahu in the 2nd house, Ketu in the 8th house, they can make non-traditional careers. They can make unconventional careers. But nonetheless, it's important for them not just to renunciate money, not just to renunciate to the material world, but understand, especially in the time that we're living in the Kali Yuga, the stability and security that the material world provides, and how actually necessary that is in order for the happy lifetime for someone with Ketu in the 8th house. If they have no money, they will not be able to travel to the places they will not, they want to go, get out of the difficult situations they were in. So they need to establish that financial independence as well. But also because of Ketu in the 8th house, I feel much compassion for people with Ketu in the 8th house sometimes, because they have to witness lots of death. They have to see lots of death in their lifetime. Maybe their parents die, maybe their friends will die. And at the time, it's very, very painful for them because they go through very strong loss. They miss the person very intensely. But what it does is it teaches them about moksha. Because often people with Ketu in the 8th house, after someone passed, they still have the potential to feel the presence of that person. And when you feel the presence of that person that has passed, you understand reincarnation. You understand that there is no death. Nothing has finished. They have just gone on to another dimension. And so even though these people with Ketu have lots of death in their life, that death is like electricity. It acts like a catalyst to bring them closer to spiritual awakening, to bring them closer to spiritual understanding, and wisdom and knowledge of reincarnation. So that's just a little bit of my insight on Ketu in the 8th, and I am very excited to hear Dharmesh Bhai's insight on Ketu in the 8th as well.
Yeah. So very beautifully you have explained the entire concept by just adding a few things about the life. Ketu in the 8th house. See, 8th house is the exact position of a person about to leave the earth. When this body remains here and soul flies away or soul goes up. So this is a point where the person is detaching its life. It is detaching from his present life and attaching the new life. So this will continue throughout his life. Throughout his life, he is attached with certain things, then he will immediately detach with these things. See, we should not forget that is a house of life path. Whatever the life path we have during our life. See, 8th house is a multifold, twofold. It is also a house of life as well as it is also a house of death. So, till you are not die, you are living. So, during your living things, you are always inclined to certain things and immediately you detach with this thing. It's a good thing that 8th house is a house of death also. So, at the time of death also, that will be something different. Their death is always being celebrated. They are always detached with this life from this body. Very special way. See, in Indian culture, many people take a samadhi avastha. There are so many yogis who have died in the yogi avastha, where the Ketu says. That is the beauty of a Ketu in the 8th house. Because in the 8th house, when the Ketu is there, that means you are detaching within your life itself. You are not waiting for the death. You are not waiting for the death, that let death come and then I will detach from this life. During your lifetime also you are detached with this world. And that is why it is a house of a mystic. This is a house of occult also. So they are not in this life. They are not in this world. But they are always attached with some different world. Although their body remains here only, but they are something or somewhere different from this world. And you will always notice some people or you meet many time people who are not speaking things about this life or about this present era. They are speaking something different because they have feel that things which you are not able to feel. And that is why Ketu is unexpressive things. So whatever they are expressing, we are not able to understand. But they have already traveled in the trance. They might have traveled to another world and they might have experienced this. So that's attach and detachment is mainly connected with the 8th house, where whether we have our choice or not, we have to detach from our this body and we have to go to another dimension, as you mentioned. So during the lifetime also they are attaching, they are connecting with the people, and immediately they will come out from that attachment and they detach. This is the just opposite house of a relation, because the second house obviously the Rahu will be there, and this Rahu is not keeping a good relation with the others or a relation house, family house. Why it is so? Because this person doesn't attach with anything. This person during his lifetime is not attaching, and he's bodily here only, but by his soul he might have traveled to some other another world. And this is the beauty of a Ketu in the 8th house, that it's attract you towards the occult sign. It's attract to you to the research. We all know the 8th house is R&D, research and analysis is done and development done in the 8th house. Whatever the secret has been revealed, that is all the scientists, those having a 8th house, very powerful. And 8th house is also attached with the Scorpio sign. Scorpio is a poisonous sign. Is a poisonous sign. So you might have noticed that those who are scientists, those who are great researcher, philosopher, jurists, they all have faced so many. They have faced so many trouble in their life. Their life is like a poison, but still they have given the vacuum only. They are given the nectar only to the world. So this is a transformation from the venom to the nectar. So this is the transformation only the people having a Ketu in the 8th house is done. And we attach always Rahu and Ketu with the Lord Shiva. We all know that Lord Shiva is being attached with this. So Rahu is like a snake. He always wears the snake, and he is detached from this world. Even though he is a god, he is a very supreme god or very powerful god, but he never live in the civilized society. He has always been detached from this life. That detachment is with the Ketu, and that Ketu has made him a god. That Ketu, and that is why we always see the he's always in the Samadhi avastha. Shiv will be never been walking, talking like another god, but he's always in the Samadhi avastha. Means he's charging himself, and by his charging, he's giving so many energies to the world. The same way as the Ketu in the 8th house, he's also charging himself. He's not enjoying his own things. We all know 4, 8, and 12 is a moksha trikona, and where the Ketu is in the moksha trikona means you some or the another way connected with the path of a moksha. So now or later on, your intention is only to get a moksha and not to come back to the world again and again. So that's a Ketu in 8th house. Sometimes it is seen that the death is not so being good. They might be die in the mystic ways. Then that may be somewhat the question after that it may be a question. As I told you, that's a sign of poison. This house is a more of a poison. So maybe a Ketu may happens that body may turn into the poisonous. They may consume a poisonous, or somebody may give them poison as they are doing something different from others, and which may give them some kind of a specialty. So Ketu in the 8th house means you are connected not with this world. Those having Ketu in this world, don't expect anything from this world. These people will not going to give you anything. Your energy is channelized by some another world, and go and do meditation, do research. You will get to the know the your real cause of this life. So these are the blessing of a Ketu in the 8th house. So one should always being celebrated that yeah, my Ketu is in the 8th house. See, so many people misinterpret and they say your life is hell. Yes, if he remain in this material world, his life might be hell. He has to realize that he has not mean for this kind of a material pleasure. He has meant something from different. And to get something higher, you have to compromise and sacrifice something which you are getting. So this kind of a totally new dimension in the life will be found in the Ketu. Even though they are into the materialist world, they are totally detached with this all material things, and they are not in this world. So this kind of a good energy I have seen in the Ketu in the 8th house, and they are good scientists, they are good astrologer, they are good people who can search the secret, and because of their secret, so many people yeah, we can move to the 9th house.
And now discuss the ninth. So thank you, Dr. Dharmesh, for that insight into Ketu in the 8th house. It's so transformational the way that you described. Again, these people, when they can focus their life towards moksha and they finally get activated through that, through their Ketu Mahadasha or Ketu return, it can be really,
Yeah.
really positive for the shift in their life. And they don't have to worry so much about the money and the material world, because naturally they don't want to. But there is some karma for them to have to get there through spiritual practices and spiritual work and developing spiritual knowledge. But perhaps sometimes because of Ketu, it's just remembering the wisdom that they already have from some past lifetime or something like that. Now, as we move to Ketu in the 9th house, first we talk about the house of religion being the 9th house. And so there are a lot of different possibilities that show up when Ketu enters the 9th house. But one of the possibilities is that Ketu is a very radical planet. So when you find Ketu in a very strongly high dignity, you can find people who are very radical within the religion. These are the people, it doesn't matter what religion you're practicing the radical form of that religion. So these are people that are dogmatic, they are overzealous, and if you throw Mars in conjunction with Ketu, they can even be violent. They can even be terroristic. So there is this vibration of Ketu in the 9th house because of the moksha karaka mixing with religion, that these people can be very militant, radical, and intense about their approach to religion. And sometimes they can be rather extreme about their approach to religion, pushing it on other people, sharing it on other people. But other times Ketu creates a void, which means these people don't have a strong sense of religion, or that the religion that they were born into, let's say they were born into Christianity, that's not the religion that will speak for them. Another religion will speak to them. Maybe Hinduism, maybe Taoism, maybe Buddhism. But oftentimes people with Ketu in the 9th house, if they're not radical about their birth religion, then they become very interested in religions outside of their birth religion. So these people find the more mystical side. So they like to chant, they like to sing, they like to perform spiritual rituals, they like to perform spiritual practices. This can be very positive in terms of their path towards religion, as it helps them get closer and closer to moksha. The religion brings them closer and closer to moksha. But one of the issues is, what if the religious path that you've chosen isn't set you up to bring you to moksha? So then there can be transformation. There can be letting go of different religions. And one thing that we know about Ketu is it's very transformational and unpredictable. So one thing that I see with Ketu in the 9th house natives, they're one religion at one time of their life. 5 years later, they're another religion. 10 years later, they're another religion. And by the time that they're later in their life, you can't even think of one religion that they are, because the type of religious knowledge or wisdom that they have, it's from different places, different philosophies, because the 9th house is also the house of the philosophy. And the Ketu creates a more mystical, occult interest in philosophy. So they're not just interested in religion, but they're interested in philosophy, they're interested in perception, and this is a house of education as well. So they could be interested in metaphysical education. They could be interested in spiritual education. But because Ketu, in its difficult dignity and in a difficult position, can sometimes create a void, sometimes these people feel lack of connection to religion. They feel lack of connection to spirituality, and they feel lack of connection to God. And during Ketu Dasha, Ketu transit, some experience in their life can bring them closer to God, but they will yearn for their relationship for God. They will desire to have their closer relationship with God. They will want to understand what God is, but that might not always be an easy connection for them to make, because Ketu is blind. It cannot see it. So they have to see it with Ajna chakra. They have to see it with their third eye, with their eye of perception. But depending on other logical positions in their chart, they might not believe in the third eye and the eye of perception. So they cannot see God, that they cannot believe in a God that they cannot see. So this is something that is very important to consider, is trying to believe in something which is not scientifically provable. Trying to believe in something through faith,
Right.
through surrender, through letting go, through trust. And this is also the house of the guru. So people with Ketu in the ninth house, they can be very serious about their gurus, just like they can be extreme about religion. They can be extreme about their gurus, the type of person that will kiss their guru's feet, and they will worship their guru, and they will think their guru is a god. And the guru will say, I'm not a god. And the person will say, I disagree. You are a god, my guru. And so this is one vibration. And then also, because of the void vibration, if it's in a difficult position or dignity, they want guru, they want teacher, they want mentor, they want guide, but they have trouble finding the right one. They have trouble finding the one that resonates for them. They will always be looking for it until Kate will heavily activate them, hopefully receiving it.
Right.
But nonetheless, there's this longing for the guru. There's this longing for connection with God. There's this longing to understand religion. But sometimes there's a void in all of those areas too. Now, the ninth house is also the house of higher education. It's usually
Right.
college and post-college education, like law school, medical school, business school. And so people with Ketu in the ninth house, if it's in a very good position, they can be very well educated. But the thing is they don't like traditional education. They like more non-traditional education. And so they might, if they do go to college, it will be a non-traditional college. The type of school that someone with Ketu in the ninth house will do well in is a school where the person gets to pick all of their own classes. Because the way that Ketu in the ninth house is, if it's not in alignment with your spiritual path or your dharma or your spiritual evolution, which is all of those energies coming from the ninth house, you're not going to do so well at learning it. So it's very important for people that there is an educational energy of having Ketu in the ninth house, but you have to be able to choose what you want to study. You have to be able to pick what you'd like to investigate. And then you can find much information and knowledge of that. But sometimes the traditional school system is not set up that way. So they might opt for more non-traditional education, like an education from a spiritual teacher, an education from a mentor, an education if they want to become an astrologer from another senior astrologer. If they want to become an Ayurvedic doctor, another senior Ayurvedic doctor. This type of relationship is going to be much more beneficial for them than them going to a school where they are required to take a bunch of requirement classes, and those requirement classes will be very difficult for them.
Right.
They will want to leave school because Ketu is the mokshakaraka. So as soon as they have to take requirement classes, they will want to leave school. So again, there are certain types of colleges right now that do let you pick your own curriculum. And there are certain types of post-college that also like you pick your own curriculum. This is more appropriate for Ketu in the ninth house. Sometimes people misunderstand. Ketu in the ninth house is bad for education. It's bad when you don't get to choose your education, but it's actually quite good when you do get to choose your education. So I just wanted to touch on those points of how Ketu in the ninth house will affect religion, will affect guru, will affect education. And sometimes we see Ketu as the ninth house, in the ninth house, it having some influence on the relationship with the father. And if Ketu has too strong of a position here, the father can be very excessive and over-demanding and authoritative. If Ketu is in a difficult position there, the father can be absent, which means the father might leave the home at an early age and the mother might raise the children alone. So again, when Ketu is in a functionally benefic positive dignity, it gives a lot of strength and power, even though authority and intensity is going to come with that. But when Ketu has weak strength, it really lacks giving the rewards of that thing because of the moksha karaka, because you have not have attachment to those things. So those are just some of the insights of Ketu in the ninth house. And I love to hear what you would have to share, Dr. Dharmesh.
Yes, you have mentioned so many things which people may feel the things. See, another aspect of Ketu is not agree with the world, but doing their own research. And really, this is a house of research also of a different kind. Means non-academical research is done in the ninth house. So here, the first of all, the what we see about the belief, religious belief, this all are seen from the ninth house. Whatever the God you believe, whatever the belief you have inside a world or a people or a guru or a God, that belief is seen in the ninth house. So being a Ketu in their house, they are a path maker and not a path breaker. So they will make their own path. In religion also, you'll see there are so many views about the God, there are so many views about the nature, everything. So they are not following the traditional way, but they have some different dimension in matter of religious. So they have totally a different dimension, as we know that Ketu is a totally not from this world and material world, a spiritual level. They doesn't like to go to temple, but they are highly spiritual. See, that's the difference between a religious and spiritual. Guru or Jupiter is a religious person, will is always attached with the mass. When you do the mass prayer, when you do a prayer in the temple with the so many people, that is your Jupiter. And when you do a meditation inside your room, just in the quiet things, or you go to the caves and do the religious this spirituality, that is a Ketu. So they are something different. They are a revolutionary in the religion matter. Whatever the misconceptions are there in the religion, they are the person who always try to remove that misconcept. So they have a totally a different or new dimension related to the religious matter. In initial stage, they might be facing lot of opposition. See, there are so many gurus in the initial stage, they are being criticized, but thereafter there are a lot or the mass of people who follow them. These are the people having a Ketu in the ninth house. They are also having their own pathway, their own destiny, their own religious belief. So on that religious belief they follow. And you know, the Rahu is matter with the experiment. When Rahu is in the third house, obviously they are a people of experimental. They break the path and they make a new path. So this Ketu is a new path maker in the field of a religion. We have seen the evolution of society, evolution of a religion, evolution of so many things. They are the one of a person who has initiated that evolution. So they are the good people. As the study discussed, that's rightly said that they are out of a book, and this study is a real life story. When people go to the PhD, when they go to the master degree, higher master, double degree, this is all the ninth house which possess and which leads to somewhere connection between with you in the next life. We should not forget the ninth house is a mean for the next life. What you are going to do in the next life. Being Ketu here in this house, they are not able to produce the right things in during their lifetime, but after their lifetime, after they die, their name will be so much shine. Their name will be a path maker, and people will follow them blindly after their exit. So this kind of a negative aspect is also there in the Ketu, because during the lifetime they might not be getting a good amount of returns what they are expecting, but the same will be affected in the next life. We also see the ninth house is a house of long distance traveling or foreign traveling or abroad traveling, we see. So Ketu in the ninth house, it has always seen that Rahu in the ninth house, you will be going to the new nation and there you will settle, but Ketu will not. If you go to the new countries, you will not adjust with that country, and you will not able to come back to your origin country also. So here the both the door has closed. The door where the new place you have entered, it's not adjustable with you, so you are not comfortable with you. You want to come back to your original place, your birthplace, or the place of origin, but that place also you have left already. There is no chance of return also. So they will choose some third world. They will choose some third place. So this is also kind of a dryness, that they will not feel where they are staying. They are not feel good with where they have origin, but they go to something different, something third place which they have not been thought about, and which they have never been assumed that they are going to settle into that extreme state. So that also happens with the matter of this. About the father, they'll be being Ketu in the ninth house. They are not so attached with the father, and being it's a sign of Sagittarius also, if we see the Kal Purusa. So here they see their father as being a guru. They see that they don't interact with the father, because Ketu is a dry, we all know. They are not interacting with the father, but silently they are following the path of the father. They are not directly asking that father what I should do, what I should do, but they are silently following the path of the father, and they are observing the whatever the difficulty has been came in the father life, they try to overcome this. So this also a kind of a big things related to the luck. See, when we speak about the ninth house, the first comes out and pop up is the luck. And luck is something, things which always attach with you when you start some initiate. When you start some initiate, you want support from back. That is fifth house. We know the spinal cord is a fifth house. So that gives you support from the back, so that you can stand properly. So when you start anything, you need a fifth house. But you already started. You have started walking on the path, your life path. Then you need what? Foreseen, what is going to come the next, what will be the next, what will happen tomorrow, what will happen after 1 hour. So that next time is a ninth house. So what happened, that they are not bother what will going to happen in the future. The least bother, they be in the presence. They see whatever in this current era, they'll see in this context of a present time. So they are least bother what will going to happen in the future time, what, where they will stand after 5 years, where they will stand. It's not a lack of planning, it's not lack of planning, but they are not having optimism of future. They see people you what will be your life, where you want to reach. They say, let's see, there is a time which going to speak. So these are the people who are always depending future, but not spoiling their present. This is also something beautiful, because this is a dharma trikon. As per the rule of 159, this is a dharma trikon. And being a Ketu in the dharma trikon, it is very, very essential that one should be always in the path of spiritual thing. They are always being attached with the spiritual thing. They are always being attached with the religious matter. So I like Ketu in the ninth house, but with the different prospect. They are not good follower. They are not in the means of a race for seeing the future, where I'll reach, where I. But they are being in the presence. They're having some revolutionary ideas, but that ideas they are only performing when real time comes. They don't speak about what I'll going to do afterward, what I'll do in this time, that time. They will not speak about, but they will do silently, and you will feel that, oh, he has done something great. But he will never have that kind of inclination of speaking everything and disclosing everything. So this a Ketu is a matter of a secret also. So overall aspect, we see that Ketu in the ninth house is a good placement for the spiritual person, for having a good research and analytical mind. They have a good aspect of the Ketu in the ninth house. So that's inputs of mine in the ninth house. We can move to the 10th house.
Thank you, Dr. Dharmesh. Much appreciated. And I like the point, especially of the Dharma Trikona position, thinking how Ketu in the natural house of Sagittarius, and Sagittarius being the sign which represents moral and ethics. And that Ketu in the ninth house really forges its own moral and ethical beliefs. It forges its own religious beliefs. It forges its own spiritual beliefs. I always will joke, whatever person has Ketu in the 9th house, the religion will be their first name added with ism to it. So if we have Ketu in the 9th house, it'd be Kṣaṇāti-ism. If you have Ketu in the 9th house, it'd be Dharmeshism, because these are the type of new spiritual and religious territories that you're talking about that these natives are fostering. So I really concur with you on a lot of those amazing points. So now we're going to be discussing Ketu in the 10th house position. And this is the first time so far since the 7th house that we're looking at Ketu in another Kendra. And when you're looking at Ketu in the 10th house Kendra, it's a very somewhat challenging position at times, because the 10th house is the house of career. This has to do with someone's success, someone's arta, someone's prosperity, the establishment of their work throughout their lifetime. And Ketu is the moksha karaka, which we've discussed is very non-material. So you have a very non-material energy going into a very materialistic place. And this can create some certain challenges for the individual. Now, one thing that's very common, though, is that I've seen that when Ketu has good dignity in the 10th house, these people are extremely hard workers. They are extremely successful in their career. They are extremely productive. It's almost like they have an infinite amount of energy that they can constantly give. So their tendency towards workaholic, when Ketu is in a very strong position, like Ketu in Leo here, I see very good for career. Ketu in Scorpio here, I see very good for career. But one of the side effects that comes with that, because Ketu is the moksha karaka, is the unpredictable element which is brought into the career. Many times with people with Ketu in the 10th house, their career changes. So they will have a certain career for a certain period of time, but then for whatever reason, whether it's a shift in their own life or a shift in the work circumstance and work situation, either the role of their jobs change or the job changes entirely. So a lot of times people with Ketu in the 10th house, they can have lots of changes and transformations in their career, where at a certain part of their time, they're working a certain job, but at another part of their time, they're working another job. And Ketu wants to put you in alignment with your highest potential. So that means that when you're working a job that isn't in alignment with your highest potential, Ketu will want to create an obstacle to remove that job from your life. So a lot of times people with Ketu in the 10th house, they lose their job. They get fired from their job. And they think that that's a bad thing. But one door closed and many more doors is opened. And usually if Ketu has something to do with it, there's a greater other opportunity waiting for you. That's one of the most beautiful things as we discuss Ketu through all of these houses, that we remind us of the beauty of Ketu. And that's that sometimes the things that Ketu takes away, that it's making space for something else. Just like the relationship between death and life. For every person that dies, there's a new baby that is born. For every opportunity that ceases to exist, another opportunity is born. And so all these people with Ketu in the 10th house, they might have the challenge of relocating for jobs, finding new jobs, switching their the role that they have in the job that they have. But it eventually is going to lead them into something that is very fulfilling. Although Ketu having its affinity for the mystical, occult, esoteric energies and being somewhat of an outsider vibration, people with Ketu in the 10th house are wonderful in terms of being channelers, in terms of being healers, in terms of being astrologers, in terms of being natural healers, especially if there's other medical significations there. But a lot of times people with Ketu in the 10th house, they have a hard time finding out what their career is. They're always searching for it. They're always longing for it. And there's always looking for it. So where can we find some support for this? Let's look at Rahu. and Rahu finds itself in the 4th house position. This is the house of home. So very often I've noticed that people with Ketu 10th house, Rahu 4th house, first of all, you are born in the land, away from the land of your ancestor. Usually people with Rahu 4th house, Ketu 10th house, or Rahu ascendant, you're living away from your ancestor. So you might be Indian, but born and living in United States, or you might be Israeli, but living in the United States. So whatever these energies are, that can be very strong by this parallel of Ketu 10th house, Rahu 4th house position. Now, usually this indicates, because Ketu representing success in foreign lands in the 10th house, and Rahu representing uncomfortability at the home in the place that you were born, shows that a lot of open doors and a lot of opportunities can happen for the Ketu in the 10th house native when they travel. This means financial opportunities, business opportunities, possible foreign resettlement, and living in another place. It can even show going back to your homeland and living in your homeland, the land of your ancestors, but not necessarily, but going somewhere out of the place that you were born so that you can open more doors for yourself. One of the things that Rahu in the 4th house, Ketu in the 10th house, and Ketu in the 10th house energy says is that if I stay in my comfort zone, my career is limited. Which means if I do what is comfortable for me, it doesn't mean that I can't make money, but the full potential of my career is limited. But if I get outside of my comfort zone, if I travel, if I see the world, if I try to do international business, if I try to go to other places and try to do businesses there, or try to learn different cultures, traditions, or maybe I have a non-traditional or foreign and exotic career. These people have a lot more chance to be successful in their careers, in their work, in their financial situations. So I always encourage them to get out of their comfort zone, and they certainly should not be living in the city they were born in their entire lifetime. They should be getting out there, seeing the world, seeing what opportunities present themselves, because a lot of success can take place when you get out of your comfort zone, get out of your country of origin when Ketu is in the 10th house. Now, because of the mystical association of Ketu in the 10th house, sometimes we call the 10th house the house of career, is the English translation. But I'm not sure that's the most just English translation. I think another way that I like translating the 10th house is the house of the life purpose. Because not always is our career the same thing as our life purpose. Not always is our primary source of income our life purpose. Sometimes our life purpose is being a parent. Sometimes our life purpose is being a teacher. Sometimes our life purpose is being of service. And so sometimes Ketu in the 10th house might suggest that your life purpose is not material, that your life purpose is greater than material. Your life purpose is spiritual. And the more that you can let go of your attachment to a material part of being your purpose, the more you get closer to that full spiritual potential of what that life purpose could be. But obviously it gets activated, Ketu Mahadasha, Ketu Antardasha, Ketu Bhakti. But because Rahu's in the 4th house, traveling and getting out of your comfort zone and getting away from your mother are all very beneficial things for opening up new opportunities for the Ketu in the 10th house native. So that's just a little bit of what I wanted to share about Ketu in the 10th house. It is an unpredictable position for the career, but as you start to see the life purpose as something more spiritual, there's a lot of potential there. There's a magnitude of potential there. So I'm very curious what you have to say as well, Dr. Dharmesh.
Yeah, very well said that what you are doing is not maybe your purpose. So that is a main theme of a Ketu in the 10th house. See, we all know the deeds, whatever the daily routines or the deeds we perform, is our 10th house. So what happened that whatever we do, that comes in surface of the people's eyes, and they gives the judgment. Here, when the Ketu in the 10th house is there, he himself doesn't know that what he possesses. He possesses something different, and what the people's expectation is there, whatever the present things he is doing, is totally a different. So that is a way they always feel that they are not performing well, they are not using their potential. This is all their belief, that I'm not doing well. But every people are mad to follow him, but he himself doesn't like that thing, because he is not getting a sense, he is not getting the real sense of what he is capable of. So that capability also has a wider scope when the Ketu comes in the 10th house. So you can do multiple work simultaneously. That is a potential of a Ketu, that you can do multiple tasks. You are doing job, simultaneously you are a musician, simultaneously you are a writer. So that's a multiple task. The person in the 10th house, when the Ketu is 10th house, so they have a ability to do so many things, but they are not exploring their real value, their real strength. So those having a Ketu in 10th house, they are always feeling that I'm not fit for this work, I'm not fit for this work. So whatever the role they came in their lifetime, they are always not being satisfied. Why not satisfied? Because opposition gives the wrong pleasure. So it doesn't give them pleasure, and this is not a material pleasure. Here you are designated with some kind of a deeds, and you are performing your deeds. You are unhappy with your own work, but there are lakhs of people are following you. They are dying to become as like you, but you yourself is not being satisfied. And again, your aim is not always a materialistic. That is also a kind of a concern here in the 10th house, that your concern is not materialistic. So maybe it may not generate as a credit, as a name, fame, recognition, or position as you deserve. So maybe it happens that you are not satisfied with the position you are, the financial status or financial benefit you are getting out of it. Again, by seeing the triangle, it is a earth trichon. We know earth is a materialistic, and again the Ketu plays in the wrong triangle, whether it is a second, 6 or 10. Here it is in the 10th house. So they are doing their work with a very dedication, with no expectation. We can say as a zero expectation, and they are doing multiple work where they are multiple talented, but they are not satisfied, and people are highly attached with them. Again, this occultism also comes in the way. So they might be attached with this kind of spiritual things, spiritual gurus, or they might be a good trainer, they might be a astrologer, good guide. They can do always a good pathway for others. So they are good in their work, they are sincere in their work, but maybe it may not give the same feelings as the others are feeling, because others are seeing from the opposite house. So they say that he is very talented person, but he who possesses that Ketu in 10th house doesn't realize his real potential, and his work will be always being appreciated. One should be noticed that those having a 10th house Ketu, they will not be getting a name, fame, and recognition as an individual, as a like name of Dharmesh Mehta. But why he is famous? He is famous because of his work. So his work will be more focused, his work will be come to the notice of a people, not he as a person. He might not have met every person to whom he has reached. So his reachability may be more, but his accessibility may be less. He might not meet so many people. There are so many scientists do so many things, are people who are spend entire of their life in the laboratories or research place, where they are not interacting with the people, but their work is always being come into the eyes of a people, and that makes others life more powerful, more smooth. So this is a namesake wise, they are not getting namesake. Don't behind the namesake. You are already doing a good works, continue your deeds. irrespective of the people who are rewarding, awarding, or accepting your things or not, but your work will be one day will become and noticed by so many people. So those having Ketu in 10th house, you might be dissatisfied, and as Kṣaṇāti, you rightly say, they are always like to change, and in their life, half of a life, because Ketu mature by 48, we all know. So half of a life, they are doing something compelling to them, and thereafter they start what they are liking. So it may happen that till the age of 50 or 48, they are always changing their work because they are not getting sense that this is work made for them. So it is always making change, and they are not settling with the one particular work. But after the 50, after the half age average, they get that no, this is only the my work, and they realize their potential and they work on that dimension. We'll not speak much about the Rahu in the 4th house, because that's not a comfort zone for Rahu. But at least Ketu in the 10th house having some comfort zone, being you are a good activist, being you are always been focused in your work, being you are always being connected with your work and not connected with this material life. You are only came here to do your best. See, some employees you might have seen in the office, when you assign some work, they will not see the time, they will not see the food, they will not see the any other comfort, but they will complete their work. That kind of a dedication the key to having in 10th house. You do your best. Don't wait for somebody's recognition, somebody's acknowledgement. You have done a faithful work, no, will be appreciated, will be acknowledged by the about 10th house. You are in a good position, you are good in the everything. Only thing is that that things has not been realized. So that is a small part of a Ketu in the 10th house I wish to discuss. And then we see what will be going to having the Ketu in the 11th house.
Mhm, mhm. Yeah, very, very accurate. And the, the natural sign of Capricorn being the sign of the 10th house, and thinking of Ketu and Capricorn and some of the adversity that people have to go through, but how that adversity creates strength and creates a hard worker and creates someone who is disciplined. And a lot of times when Ketu is in a good position in the 10th house, these people are very hard workers and disciplined in their career.
Right.
So that's an extremely positive aspect. Now, as we look more into Ketu in the 11th house, there are a few significations. Now, we always say that 11th house is house of friendship. So what's the positive and difficult side of having Ketu in the 11th house when it comes to friendship? When Ketu has good functional, benefic, and positive dignity in the 11th house, you can have very spiritual friends. You can have very mystical friends. You can have friends that help you spiritually. You can have friends that help awaken your third eye. You can have very interesting friends. You can have
Right.
from other cultures. You can have friends from other lands. You can have friends from other places. So you will have very, very interesting friends. Probably not too many, because K2 generally limits the amount unless it's in a really strong position. But the
Right.
certainly be possibly mystical, spiritual, and at the very least interesting. Now, the dark side, because K2 can sometimes create a void, is sometimes people with K2 in the 11th house feel like they don't have any friends, like they are alone, like they are a loner, like they are on this road alone, and that they have to achieve their dreams and their successes alone. Because this is a Kama Bhava house where our dreams are achieved. So the question is, am I going to have allies and friends that are going to help me to achieve my dreams, or am I going to have to achieve my dreams on my own? And Ketu in the 11th house is saying, well, maybe there are a couple people that'll help me along the way. And this is something, they say it's not what you know, but it's who you know. And
Yes.
some people with Ketu in the 11th house, they just know the right people, or the right people know them. And because the right people know each other, there's a lot more success for or chance for them to achieve their dreams, to achieve their recognition, to achieve their potential. There's more potential for that. But when Ketu is very difficult positioned in the 11th house, this is also the house of profits and the house of gains. And when moksha is very strongly activated in that house, there cannot be many material profits. There could not be very many material gains. Now, Ketu being there will certainly show spiritual gains, but a spiritual gain is not something that necessarily makes somebody happy. It means that you're gaining spiritual growth. You're getting closer to moksha. You're getting closer to non-attachment. But that might mean that you're losing profit. That might mean that you want something and you're not getting something what you want. And so it's also aspected by Rahu in the 5th house here, which is the house of children. And a lot of times people with Rahu in the 5th house, they can have children, sometimes not on purpose, but by the surprise. And by the surprise they have the children, which means then the children becomes their dharma because of the activation in the 5th house. And all of the time that they want to spend with their friends, all of the things that they want to do that they are focused on achieving their dreams. Well, now they have to spend that energy focused around taking care of their child. But in general, even if a child isn't activated, the Ketu in the 11th house seeks to achieve things in a non-traditional way. These people also have an affinity for astrology, all the mystical arts, all of the old sciences. But again, the 11th house of gains, unlike the 10th house, is not just about material gain. It's about the gain of recognition. It's about the gain of, we put in a certain amount of work in our lifetime and we feel that we are being rewarded for that work that we've done in our lifetime. We feel we are achieving and getting the results that we would like for the work that we have done in our lifetime. And when Ketu is in the 11th house, there can be some really good results. But also, if Ketu is in a difficult dignity, it can take away the results. So people work very, 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 very hard sometimes, but the 11th house takes away the recognition, Ketu. It takes away the results. But again, if it's in a positive position, it will give the recognition. It will give the results. But one of the things that is very interesting here, because of the ally friendship and older sibling energy, usually with people with Ketu in the 7th house, they do not have the older sibling. Sometimes Ketu in the 7th house people, that means they are the oldest sibling, because Ketu creates the void. So sometimes they can create a very older sibling or elderly energy in the individual, in which they are an only child or which they are the oldest sibling as well. And so those are just some different significations I see. Now, also, the 11th house being the natural house of Aquarius. So we can think of Ketu in the Aquarius sign. This is very much about the advancement of consciousness. So when people have Ketu in the 11th house, they can be very much interested in Shiva energy. They can be very much interested in the awakening of their consciousness. It's the last house before the 12th house. It's the last house before the moksha house. They're finally getting there, finally getting closer. But before they can get there, there is something left to do. We must fulfill our dreams. We must achieve what we are meant here to do. And then we can start to prepare for moksha. So again, there is this energy here of, I'm getting much, much closer to moksha. My consciousness is evolving and getting much, much closer to moksha in terms of desiring the moksha. But what are my deeds here that I must complete before that I can start to go to the moksha? That is what I see when I think of Ketu in the 11th house. How do you feel about that position, Dr. Dharmesh?
Yeah. So it's all good insight you have put about the Ketu in the 11th house. Now we know it's a desire fulfillment. 11th house is nothing but the desire fulfillment. What are the desire fulfillment? Yeah. It is a desire fulfillment house. 11th house is a desire fulfillment. So what happened? That it's a pre-stage of a moksha. What is moksha? When there is no desire remain, you go attend the moksha. So this is a pre-stage of a desire. So when your desire fulfilled, there is no further desire is balanced. So you go into the path of the moksha. So this is a pre-stage. Because of the Ketu in this house means you are not expecting anything from others. Now slowly you are realizing that whatever things is to be done is within. So you are not attached with the material world. You are not getting any benefit whether you gain or whether you lose. It doesn't matter in your life. So that also Ketu in the 11th house, that doesn't matter whether your friends are taking maximum benefit out of you, but you are not jealous out of it. You are giving them freely. You are not taking benefit of your friends, but your friends are taking benefit of yours. So that is a benefit of a Ketu in the 11th house, that the person, this is a house of neutral. This is a neutral house. We all know the 11th house is a neutral house where the planet doesn't give the much energy, or they cannot be in a reducing energy. They go with the par, means a balanced views. So 11th house is a balancing everything. When you balance everything, then only you attend the moksha. So this is a pre-stage. And in the 11th house, when the Ketu is there, you are not focusing what you have done in the past life, because the fifth house is the past life where the Rahu is placed. So predominance of your past, you don't wish that that predominance of your past will focus and will be attending in your future. So you are leaving the past behind and you are moving ahead. That is a Ketu in the 11th house, that the person are not being bothered whether they will gain or not, whether their friends will help them or not. He is continuous pursuing his duty. And he has already seen, see, he has done the 10th house. See, this 8th house, we all believe that is a death house. Why it is put in the 8th house? Why not it is in the 12th house? When life is still there, then why it is in between in the 8th house death is given? The 8th house death is given for your material life. And once you leave the material life, when you married, when you have a sex, and when you and get satisfied with your life, they say that now detach with your life. As we have discussed that Ketu in the 8th house detach. So then they say that now climb the fourth stage of a moksha. So first the 9th house as a dharma comes, then 10th is a artha comes, then it is a kama, 11th house is a kama. This fourth stage has to be passed. So this is a kama. When you reduce your desire, kamana, in Sanskrit it is called as a kamana. When you reduce your desire, automatically you attending the moksha, you are attending the high spirituality. So this is a second last step of your moksha. Here you have to be very balanced. One has to be very balanced during this period, because now you are about to attain. One of your mistake may will come back you to the human life. So here it is a neutral view of a Ketu. You are spiritual. You recognize yourself as a spiritual person. In the 9th house itself we have discussed that person has enlightened, he knows. Now he has to balance his material life as well as with his spiritual life. So that balance Ketu makes in the 11th house. So here he is not inclining whether he is gaining or not, whether he is losing or not, whether his friends are with him, whether friends are exploiting him, but he perform his duty. What he thinks that let it be, let me complete my duties. So that is a main core of this. And the Aquarius sign. See, Aquarius sign, the Ketu is way most favorable sign is of a Ketu. Even Rahu also very much attached with the Aquarius sign. Here, Aquarius sign is a pure Saturn, and Saturn is also denominating the spirituality, and Ketu always attend that kind of a spirituality. That combination of Aquarius with the Ketu is highlighting the one's high spirituality and attending the moksha. So they are in the way of a moksha, and they will complete their deeds in this life only. And then there's only one life is remain. So no kamana, no greed, no see, people are not getting that. That is why they are saying that it is not possible. But if you put the intention that you are going in the path of a moksha, then why you should bother what others are doing, what gain you are getting? Because ultimately we all have to leave everything here, and we have to moksha, we have to go further. So what your highest purpose, because purpose, as you have rightly said, in the 10th house. So now you are attending that purpose, you are fulfilling your purpose, and then you are being attending the moksha. So deeds and moksha, it is in between somewhere in the deeds and moksha house. That is the 11th house, where you have to balance both the sides. So that balance view will be always good for the people having the Ketu in the 11th house. I like this house being Ketu being a neutral. In spite of not getting something, they are satisfied. In spite of getting the things, still they are satisfied, still they are not dissatisfied. So kind of a balance view the person having a Ketu in the 11th house. 5th house Rahu will definitely discuss when the Rahu turn will come, because that is not being a good house for Rahu, but obviously it is a good house for the Ketu, right?
Yeah,
So like I said, the you are allowing to exploit them, you are allowing to exploit yourself. That is why they are taking maximum benefit of you, and you are feeling, you are believing that okay, by this way you are paying them back. So that balance view the person is having in the Ketu in the 11th house. And accordingly, once your view become like this, in the next life obviously your all the desires fulfilled, so you are about to attend the moksha that we'll see in the 12th house.
amazing, amazing. I really appreciate that, and I like how you highlighted the comfort that a K2 will have in the Aquarius sign and the non-attachment to the deeds, and it's just very, very uh, well put. So as we look into K2 in the 12th house, I always joke around with my clients that this is called living in my own little tree house. Now, because the 12th house is the subconscious mind, and K2 is the moksha karaka, and the 12th house is the
Yeah,
moksha house. So you get all
right.
those energies together, and the person is very inclined towards moksha. And that sounds like a wonderful thing. When you're supposed to be inclined towards moksha, it is. However, those with Ketu in the 12th house are inclined towards moksha to some extent throughout the entirety of their lifetime, and sometimes it has no spiritual connotation whatsoever. That's why I call it living in my own little treehouse. That means certain people with Ketu in the 12th house, they live in an imaginary world. They live in their own world, in their own perspective, in their own paradigm, in their own understanding. And eventually, when they're young, this can be escape tendency. This can be an escapism tendency, which means I don't want to deal with the material world. I don't want to deal with my family. So I'm going to run away to my little treehouse. Whether it's real or imaginary, I want to run away what's from real, and I want to go to the other dimension. I want to go to the other world. Now, as K2 gets further activated, and if there are other spiritual significations in their chart, eventually this magic treehouse that they run away to begins to become a spiritual temple. It's no longer a treehouse, now it's a temple, and it's a place where they go there and they do pranayama, and they do meditation, and they do chanting, and then they experience existential metaphysical bliss. They get taste of samadhi. They go into these kundalini awakening things where their whole body is shaking and convulsing, and they're having this powerful spiritual experience. But That's only once the Ketu in the 12th house has taken its spiritual connotation. When it hasn't taken its spiritual connotation, these people have a hard time living in the physical world. They have a hard time living in the physical body. They have a hard time relating with the material world. They have a hard time relating with money. Sometimes they can have a hard time with relationships because a part of every planet has a direction which it likes to travel. We know that. North, south, east, west. Ketu's direction is heaven. Ketu's direction is Svarga. The 12th house direction is Svarga. So when you combine all of these energies in the chart, the person is constantly being pulled to Svarga, which is the heavenly or the celestial dimension. Well, that sounds pretty awesome, but what if you have no idea what Svarga is? What if you have no idea what another dimension is? What if you only know what is surrounding you in this third dimension? It can create lots of confusion. It can create lots of separation. It can create lots of challenges. It can make it very hard for these people to relate to others, to relate to hold jobs, to relate to the material world. But then you have Ketu, Rahu aspecting the 6th house here. So they usually have some job to make money, but it's not fulfilling for them because it's not activating their 10th house. It's activating their 6th house. So nothing in the material world is often satisfying for those with Ketu in the 12th house. And they will always have an affinity for moksha. And once they find out what moksha is, and they find out that the purpose of life is to get closer to enlightenment, non-attachment, not having fear of death, and the completion of their karma, then there is no better position for Ketu in the entire chart spiritually. But until they have found their spiritual place, this can be a very miserable position for the Ketu in the 12th house native because they have no idea where they are, they have no idea where they're going, and they feel stuck in between two places. So it is essential for the Ketu in the 12th house native that they find a spiritual orientation to their life, that they study reincarnation, that they study moksha, so that this magic tree house that they escape to because life is too difficult or their parents or society is too difficult, that they then go towards spiritual sadhana. They go towards pranayama, bhakti yoga, chanting, and all of these more devotional practices in order to bring them closer to the samadhi. So again, this is the most powerful position for samadhi, which is very, very good when someone actually knows what that is and is their intention to go there. But it can be a difficult position when you have no idea what that is, or you have trouble believing in an afterlife, or you have trouble believing in a heaven. But I guarantee you, if you have Ketu in the 12th house, by the end of your life, you will believe in the afterlife. You will believe in the heaven. You will believe in these things. The experiences of your life force you to. So that's a little bit about, of my insight on Ketu in the 12th house. And it's my favorite position spiritually for Ketu. But I understand that it can be very difficult when you're not spiritually oriented. So I just wanted to comment on that whenever someone has Ketu in the 12th house, there's really no better position to orient your life spiritually. What do you say, Dharmesh Bhai?
Yeah, very rightly said. I believe that Ketu, we all know that's a moksha karaka, and 12th house is Swarg, or that we all know. But 12th house is a nature. What a nature is designed for you is a 12th house. See, everybody has its own nature, all surrounding. You are surrounded with your world. So that surrounding world is a 12th house. Your nature. It's nature in the field of your own nature insidely and the surrounding what you are. So they are less bother with the people surrounded by they. They are focused with the what they have to do. So they are very much focused, and everybody's focus is to not to come again and again in this life and just to get moksha. So that is a ultimate. Many people having maybe a wish to having a multimillionaire or billionaire or this, but ultimately they, after getting the money, they also realize this is not a real pleasure. This is not a swarga. This is not a place what I desire. So he will turn into the moksha. And we know the fourth house is a thought of a moksha, eighth house is a path of a moksha, whereas 12th is itself is a moksha, is an end. Is the end of a moksha life, what you desire, what thoughts came from the fourth house. You have started your journey and reached to the eighth house, because eighth house is a pathway, is a journey, and now you are in the last corner of that moksha trikona, that is a really moksha. So when you are really attaching, sitting in the house of a moksha, and Ketu, as we see, that no sense. See, for getting moksha is also one kind of a desire. So one should not keep at least that small desire also, that I want to attain the moksha. If moksha is there, it will automatically attain. If you keep a little wish that no, ultimately I have to go to the moksha, then that is also a small desire. For that small desire, you have to again take a birth. So you don't have to do anything. You don't have to do anything. The pathway already you have walked, and now you are close to moksha. You are close to the tree which bear the fruit, and you are asking others where is the fruit. You are already reaching. You are already on the way of path. You have started your journey of a moksha. Now you cannot stop. You cannot hold. Now it is only attending the moksha. There is a no desire also will work. So 10th house, it is sometime Rahu in 10th house means nature has punished you, and nature will never allow you to attend the moksha. You have done something sin, somebody has done some sin. That is why the Rahu comes in the 12th house. So you are reversed to the moksha. People dimension of moksha. Attention of moksha self. You are not away from the moksha. That is not a Rahu in 12th house. When Rahu in 12th house means nature has punished you. Even though you are knowing that you are attaining the moksha, you will turn to the materialism. Whereas when Ketu in the 12th house, nature always one after another make you a step whereby you attain moksha more faster. So that is a blessing of a nature, that it will always give you some, it will not give you something, so that you are not attaching with the material things. And if you are not attaching, there's no desire, you have completed your desire, and now you are only and only focusing that to release and relief in this life, and get dissolved into this nature. For nature, that the Panch Mahabhut, five elements which is the body, you won't like to come back and goes back to that Pancha Tattva and to dissolve your things. So all your desire has been already dry up. Your desire is even dry up. See, this is also a house of losses. Even though losses will happen, he will realize that this is not loss, but what I have to pay, I have already paid. So they will find a peaceful mind, that I have not incurred a loss, but this is something which I have to pay, and I have paid. So that realization is also very important when the Ketu in the 12th house. So whatever the people surrounding to you, whatever the nature, whatever the surrounding you are belonging, you are least bother with them. Somebody is doing something with you, somebody is playing with you, somebody is making you annoyed, making you problematic. You are not aware of, you are not bothered about it, and you have only seen that this is the last end where I have reached. Now if I turn back and look this all these things which are happening with me, then again I will deviate from my pathway. So he will not bother what the things are happening behind his back. What is a backstabbing, whatever the things are happening in the nature surrounding to him, behind him, he'll least bother, and he will focus and move forward. So that realization, because he doesn't like to come back, it is not his wish, but he has fulfilled his duty. Being a fulfillment of a duty, he is now eligible, we can rather say is eligible for the higher this spiritual world. So he will complete all material things from here. He may take a birth. See, it's not that he will not take a birth, Moksha is something different. Moksha means you are disconnected with the cycle of a life and death. Now you are released. So moksha means you take a birth in certain place where there is no life value and there is no death. Here in earth is called a mrityulok. In the Shastra, it is called as a mrityulok, where people die. Where people die. People take a birth and people die. Whereas there are so many lok where you can only take a birth, but you have ample of a life. There is a uncertainty. You will never be punished and you will never be dead. So they will reach, attain to that moksha. They'll reach to the some loka where there is no end, and they will dissolve into this. And that is why in Christianity they say rest in peace. RIP, what we speak is nothing but that he will be attending to the higher peaceful area where he has not bother about the life or death. When the fear of death will remove from you, then you'll enjoy the swarga, or you enjoy the your fulfillment of a moksha here only. So that is a more attending things where the people should be alive. People think that now I will not take a birth. No, you will take a birth, but you will take into, you will, your soul will be goes to that area, that location where there is no calculation of a age, there is no calculation of a birth, there is no calculation of death. See, what we calculate a death and birth, age, it's our body, it's not a soul. We don't know how many years the soul has incepted from the higher soul. So here your soul is very close to the higher from where you are released, and you are feeling the comfort zone. So your soul will be directed to that channel. We all know that after the death, the its soul passed to the tunnel or channel. It passed to the channel. So that channel you are already in the pathway, and ultimately you will reach to the point where you are seeking. So it's no point of a materialism. So that is a good place of a Ketu. Only thing is Rahu in 12th house means you are being cursed with the nature. You have done something great loss to the nature. And many people, those who are violating the rules of environment, they will be punished by the Rahu in the 12th house. And some of the other day, they will take a birth with the Rahu in 12th house, and they will be punished. They have to go get back to the nature. They have to give back so many things to the nature. But here we are only speaking about the Ketu. So they are attending their right position where they started their journey. When they have started journey, see, when we also start our journey from our home, we are always thoughts in the mind that one day I'll come back to my home. After seeing all the world, what is your next step? To come back to your origin place. So this is the 12th house where the person journey started and now reaching to his destination, his own original place. So this is a beauty of a Ketu in the 12th house, and it's not something curse, but it's a kind of blessing he got from the nature, because he has fulfilled all the condition of a nature. He has not done anything wrong away from the or apart from the nature's rule. So he is not violated. So those who are wish to attend the moksha, you should follow the nature rules. If you follow the nature rule, it will make your pathway more easy to attending your right position. So that's only thing I want to add in the 12th house. And we have discussed a very good part of a Ketu in the 7 to 12. And ultimately, we have reached our right place, 12th house.
Exactly. And I
Yeah.
love what you said about K2 in the 12th house, receiving the blessing of nature. It's so poetic and so true. Really appreciate that, Dr. Dharmesh. And I really appreciate doing this series of K2 with you, our series on Sun, Saturn, our upcoming series with Rahu. I am so grateful for your wisdom and your insight and your teachings. And I just enjoy our work together to such an extent that I cannot convey. So I just want to thank you and the organization of DM Astrology and for all of your wisdom and your knowledge. And namaste to you, sir, Dr. Dharmesh.
Thank you very much. Thank you.
Blessings, everyone. Om Namah Shivaya. We hope you enjoyed this series and you'll look forward to our upcoming Rahu series. Infinite blessings.
Very soon.